Okay, picture this. You wake up tomorrow morning, throw open your window, and for the very first time in human history, there is not a single mosquito left anywhere on Earth. I want you to really imagine that for a second. A totally perfect mosquito-free morning. There's no annoying buzzing right in your ear, no itchy bites making you crazy, no frantic slapping at your own arms and legs, and absolutely zero need for mosquito nets. I mean, it sounds like absolute paradise, doesn't it? Well, let's dive into this explainer, because what we're going to unpack today might actually completely change how you view this universally hated little bug.
So here's the central mystery we're tackling today. We all know mosquitoes are an absolute nuisance. But what if I told you that this tiny insect actually secretly helps keep vital parts of nature alive? Is it genuinely possible that just completely wiping out mosquitoes could make our world worse? It's this wild paradox. And to really get it, we need to look at both the massive human toll they cause and the completely hidden ecological web they're a part of.
To truly understand the stakes here, let's just focus on one staggering number: hundreds of millions. Mosquitoes are literally among the deadliest animals on the entire planet. And it's not because of the bite itself, right? It's because they are essentially highly effective delivery vehicles for disease. Every single year, they infect hundreds of millions of people with deadly diseases like malaria, dengue, yellow fever, Zika, and chikungunya. Thousands upon thousands of people tragically lose their lives because of these illnesses. So, when you look at that enormous human cost, you'd automatically assume that if mosquitoes vanished overnight, Earth would just instantly be a much better place. Well, yes, but also no. The whole story is actually so much more complicated than most people realize.
Section 1. A mosquito-free world. The immediate impact. If every single mosquito just vanished tomorrow, honestly, those first few months would bring some serious utopian benefits. Hospitals would see this massive, drastic drop in cases of mosquito-borne diseases almost right away. Think about entire countries that currently spend billions of dollars fighting things like malaria and dengue. They could suddenly take all that money and redirect it into building schools, upgrading hospitals, and paving roads. It would be a huge economic boost. And for everyday folks like us, you wouldn't have to drop a small fortune on DEET sprays and citronella candles anymore. Kids could run around outside all summer without being practically marinated in bug repellent. Evening campouts near lakes would be completely peaceful, no buzzing, no swatting, just pure relaxation. We'd probably even see a massive boom in tropical tourism, since travelers wouldn't have to worry about catching serious illnesses. For humanity, this looks like the ultimate happy ending.
But here's where our story takes a pretty sharp turn. Nature, as it turns out, isn't built just around us humans. While we would be out there celebrating our newfound peace and quiet, the rest of the natural world would be facing a very, very different reality.
Which brings us to Section 2, the invisible food chain, a foundational source.
Mosquitoes might be incredibly tiny, but they are a totally foundational food source. Nature's kind of like a giant game of Jenga. If you pull out just one block, everything else shifts. Let's walk through this domino effect. Step 1. Mosquito larvae just disappear. Remember, baby mosquitoes live underwater, and they happen to be a massive all-you-can-eat buffet for fish, tadpoles, and other aquatic insects. So suddenly, a ton of freshwater ecosystems lose a major food supply. Boom. Step 2. Predators like frogs and certain fish go hungry. Meanwhile, up on land, adult mosquitoes are a vital snack for birds, dragonflies, spiders, lizards, and bats. With billions of mosquitoes wiped out in a single day, we hit Step 3. Those birds and bats are suddenly forced to abruptly switch their diets to other insects just to survive. And that triggers Step 4, the totally unintended consequence. If birds start eating way more butterflies, well, butterfly numbers plummet. If bats eat more moths, the moth population shrink. Basically, solving this one major problem for humans forces predators to overconsume other incredibly important insects.
All right, Section 3, the surprising pollinators. A surprising role.
Okay, we are about to challenge a major misconception you probably have about what mosquitoes actually do all day. When you break down their diet, only a remarkably tiny fraction is actually blood. Only female mosquitoes bite humans, and they literally only do it because they need those very specific extra nutrients to produce their eggs. But for the vast majority of their diet, most mosquitoes, males and females alike, spend their lives drinking sweet nectar from flowers, just to survive. Seriously, they aren't just out there acting like tiny vampires, they are actively visiting flowers all day long.
And because they spend so much time drinking nectar, that means mosquitoes are actually out there helping pollinate plants. Now, to be fair, they aren't exactly doing the heavy lifting like bees do on a global scale, but in certain areas, like super dense forests or Arctic bogs, they are absolutely essential. For example, there are specific plants, like the blunt-leaved orchid, that rely almost entirely on mosquitoes to survive and reproduce. If mosquitoes were gone, those specific plants would seriously struggle. Less pollination means fewer flowers means less food for other bugs, which then starves out the birds and animals that rely on them. It's wild to think about, right? This one tiny, super annoying insect is quietly keeping entire ecosystems afloat, just by going about its daily routine.
This leads us right into Section 4, the disease dilemma, humanity's struggle. So, with everything we've just learned about their ecological job, how on earth do we handle the diseases that have plagued us for thousands of years? It's an incredibly delicate balancing act. On one hand, you have the idea of eradicating all mosquitoes. Sure, that would prevent millions of infections and save mountains of cash, but it comes at the cost of a massive environmental shockwave. On the other hand, we have what scientists are actually trying to do today, which is targeting specific species. Researchers have been working for years on incredibly advanced tech, like genetically modified mosquitoes, to reduce populations. But here's the crucial detail. They generally only target the very specific species that actually spread human diseases. They deliberately are not trying to wipe out every mosquito on Earth, because they know that indiscriminate eradication would create profound, totally unexpected problems for the environment.
Section 5. Will Earth survive? Nature's balance. So, let's say every mosquito did just magically vanish. Would the Earth actually survive the shock? Well, most scientists agree that yes, the Earth would survive. Nature is ridiculously resilient and adaptable, but it wouldn't be pretty. On day one, you'd have this sudden, massive ecological gap and immediate food shortages for tons of predators. Over the next few years, you'd see species populations fluctuating wildly as diets shift around, fish eating different bugs, plants desperately waiting for new pollinators. Ultimately, it would probably take decades for a completely new ecological balance to settle in. And during those decades of chaos, some species could decline severely, while others might completely overrun their habitats. Nature always adjusts in the end, but a sudden, massive change like that is never easy on an ecosystem.
I think this thought beautifully sums up the core takeaway of our explainer today. Sometimes, the creatures we dislike the most are still important pieces of Earth's puzzle. It's humbling, isn't it? One tiny little insect, responsible for so much human misery, also happens to play this deeply hidden, incredibly vital role in keeping ecosystems functioning. It kind of forces us to respect the delicate, invisible balance of the natural world, even the parts we'd much rather live without.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative dilemma to chew on. Now that you've weighed millions of saved human lives against massive environmental upheaval and decades of ecological chaos, if there was a button sitting right in front of you, right now, that could erase every single mosquito forever, would you press it? It's a whole lot tougher to answer when you really understand the stakes, isn't it? Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning the world around you, and I'll catch you next time as we dive into another fascinating topic.